Hey YouTube, Repo Man 64. We're still here. The reason we're still here is because the day that God chose from before the foundations of the world has not come yet. Our job as watchers is to continue to try to surmise when that day is coming. Could it come tomorrow? I know a lot of watchers are looking at tomorrow. Could it come? According to Commander Kelly on Cool Cat and his channel, he's lined up the Psalms with it happening this year. So we're still looking at this year. Not giving up on this year yet. Not going to say, I don't think any good watcher does. It's going to say, oh, it's going to be off in 2026 or 2030. That would leave no hope. Honestly, that would lead people to just walk away and stop watching altogether. We just keep trying to figure it out. And in the end, I think, I believe, the Bible is true, Amos 3:7 will be fulfilled. He's going to tell us. He's going to let us know. We're going to continue to try to figure it out, but in the end, he's going to tell us exactly when it's going to happen. Revelation 3:3, if you're not watching, I will come upon you as a thief. We're going to continue to watch. It's what we do. Um, like I said, I have a few dates. I have actually 3 dates, but then I have a lot of compelling people or good channels looking at tomorrow, which is interesting. I keep on my timeline, I don't have that date, but I keep seeing November 30th, December 1st. I don't know why it keeps popping up. I've had a few people bring it up. I've done a few calculations bringing it to that, but I can't narrow it down to an exact verse, which every date on my timeline is bringing me, I can relate it to a verse. For example, the flood happened on October 31st, November 1st. Jesus, or the Bible tells us that 150 days later is when the waters began to recede. We know that if you do the math from that and you follow what the Bible teaches, 150 days later we'll land at the cross. Period. March 30th. It will. And that's what's on the timeline. That's what the timeline shows. It says in the 7th month and 17th day, and before the flood, they were on 6 months later. They moved it back 6 months, which is why we are not in the year 5784 yet. That did not change in September. It will not become 5784 until March 17th. That will be 5784. And I want to show you something I found too. Yeah, I'm like everybody else. I'm studying, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't like saying that the rapture is imminent. Imminency would mean that it could happen at any moment. It can't happen at any moment. It has already been written. It's already in stone from before the foundations of the world. So maybe from our perspective, it'll be imminent, but at the same time, that kind of goes against Amos 3:7, where we're going to be told. So that date's written. I think it's being hidden, not from us. I'm sure God wants to tell us really bad when it is, but that would kind of take away from the last 3 years that we've been going through this timelines, and every other channel has been going through their timelines and seeing all these wonderful dates. And if it hadn't been for what I've done so far in the last 3 years, how much I've learned in the Bible and where we are and where we're going. So let me get to the pictures. I got a whole week's worth, so hopefully I remember why I took the picture. Let's go take a look. Put on my glasses. I think I did this last week. As you know, the first day of creation was Sunday, and God very clearly tells us, and the evening and the morning were the first day. He began creation Saturday night at nightfall, becoming Sunday. He makes it abundantly clear that the day starts at evening. And where do we look? We look to Israel. We look to Israel's time. The evening of Israel's time is very important, and the morning is very important in Israel's time. So, uh, a lot of dates that I have on the timeline, actually, for example, I show Hanukkah starting on December the 7th, but it's at nightfall, so it becomes December the 8th. For us, it'll be December the 7th. For Israel, at nightfall, it becomes December the 8th. Same thing with God's creation. First day was Sunday. At nightfall on Saturday is when he began creating. God did not need the sun to know what a 24-hour period was. So, with that in mind, okay, so last time I showed you this. This is Commander Kelly's, Cool Cat Kelly's, uh, timeline of the seals, trumpets, and bowls. And I wasn't sure if Sister Sandy was the one that put this together for him. He has it also written in crayon behind him, and Sister Sandy saves us from that by actually putting it uh, up like this. So it's really cool. You can go to her website. I wish she'd put her website on these things she does. She's too modest, I guess. But her website is end time is it underscore or dash? I think it's dash studies at, and I could have her put a comment in there, which I could pin for you if Sister Sandy's watching this. She's on, I think she's on the other side of the world, so this might actually be the wrong time for her. But end time studies dash end time dash studies.com, and you can go in, and this is Cool Cats uh, timeline, which is really cool. It's really cool to go in there and see that, what she put together for us. And I want to remind you, Luke is written to the church, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. And we are seeing these signs. We saw and every time we say, oh, there's the sign, that's it. No, there's this delay. There's always a delay. It's annoying from our perspective. It appears as though it's delaying, but it doesn't delay. There's an exact day that it's going to happen, and it'll be sooner than we think. So while we're looking at something maybe a week away, boom, it happens now. It could. The rapture could literally happen at any second. There is nothing stopping it. From what I can see right here in Luke, all of these things are happening right now. And there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, upon the earth distress of nations. Boy, are we seeing that, with perplexity. They don't know what to do. And the sea and the waves roaring. At that point right there, either just before the sea and the waves are roaring, because a rapture would have caused the sea and the waves to roar with all the earthquakes going on, um, somewhere around in there, and the men's hearts failing them for fear, if they see this rapture occur, they are not going to know what just happened. Remember, every single Christian, Jesus, believing only Christian, no works, just Jesus, the blood of Christ, that's it. Those people on the entire planet will be gone in an instant. And what's left are people who are prideful, and they thought they did some work for their salvation. They thought, well, I got baptized, I donated money, I did all these things. I'm a shoe-in. I've got this. And that's what the rich man said to Jesus when he approached him. He said, I've done all these things since my youth. I'm awesome. And Jesus told him to go sell all his goods and follow him, which Jesus knew the one sin that he had. He didn't have many. Maybe he only had that one. But how many sins does it take to make your destination the lake of fire? We're all destined for the lake of fire. What are we saved from? We are not saved from going in the tribulation. We are not saved from going through the entire tribulation and going into the millennium. We are all saved from the lake of fire. Where we are placed is dependent upon our works, not works for salvation, works for your crown, works for what you're looking forward to in heaven. There are two groups going to heaven. The bride is going to heaven. The saints of the tribulation are going to heaven. How long after the bride the saints go? I can't even figure out when the bride's going, let alone figure out when the saints are going. So we're going to keep studying and try to figure it out. But right somewhere right in here is the rapture. And we know that because at the bottom it says, and when these things begin to come to pass. Well, they've begun. They've begun. No time in history have we seen what we're seeing right now in the right time after Israel became a nation and 2,000 years after Jesus went to the cross. At no point in history have we been, and the Psalms line up, have we been in the right spot for a rapture. They've looked for this rapture. I went and studied it. They've looked for this rapture since the beginning, since they were standing there staring up. And he said, "What are you guys doing?" He said, "Well, we're waiting for him to come back." You got work to do. That'll happen later, not now. And here we are. After they've written everything down, like they were instructed to do, they thought the rapture was going to occur 1,000 years ago, but they didn't have Israel becoming. Nobody ever thought for an instant that this group of people that were removed from Israel in 70 AD would maintain or retain their language, their culture, and their faith the way that the Jews. As a matter of fact, no other culture's ever done that. Only the Jews have done that. It doesn't take but one or two generations, honestly, to forget where you came from originally and to assimilate into that new society you're in. Except for the Jews, they did not do that for 2,000 years, and they're back in the land, and they're right back where they belong. And what do? We support the Jews. Supporting the Jews is supporting God. We can't determine or judge anything the Jews have done or said. Or I know um, so many people will come in and say, "Well, they did this and they did that." I don't care. I don't care. The Bible says, "You go against Israel, you go against me." God speaking. And so we support Israel blindly, quite frankly, blindly. And we must do that. And so here on this channel, I will say that we support Israel 100% because those are God's people, just like the Bible said. All right, let me get back into this. All right, again, at the bottom, look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. We're in it. We're in it right now. This rapture could happen at any moment. What happens to the sleepy church? Those who thought they had it all sealed up and were ready to go. But in those days, after that tribulation, how long will it be? I don't know. The sun shall be darkened, the moon shall not give her light. It sounds either like an eclipse that's going to happen, or it's counting the one that just happened. There is another one coming, right? It's coming in April. Is it? Yeah, it's April 8th, I believe. Are they going home after April the 8th? I don't know. And the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. So going to gather them will be quite an event as well, because while the bride was raptured, taken out of harm's way is not what this world has to offer. It's not a nuclear bomb. It's not all the trials and tribulations that we're going through currently, like we all are. It is that first seal being opened. We will be in heaven to witness that first seal being opened. And so, but this group here is a different group. And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken, and then shall they see the Son of Man come in the clouds with great power and glory. Jesus is coming back for his uh, sleepy church, his saints. And then shall he send his angels. See, he's not getting them. The first time in the rapture, Jesus is coming to get us. The second time, the angels are coming to get them. And then shall he send his angels and shall gather. That word gather is not rapture. Everybody calls it a rapture. It is not. You can go in to Strong's and see that that word gather is not the same as the word rapture. Harpazo, caught up. It's not the same word. Together his elect, who are the elect. We are the select of the elect. We're all elect. Anybody going to heaven is elect from the four winds, from the utmost part of the earth and the utmost part of heaven. So some of those saints are already in heaven. They've died. And some of those saints are here on earth, either dead. It doesn't say anything here, quite frankly, and that's the latest thought I had, that the saints go to heaven alive. There's an earthquake. That the saints go to heaven alive. From what I can see, um, the rapture is the only event that takes place, and it only happens once, where those who are alive will be taken. I am seeing, I don't want to, I'd like information on it, and my mind's open to it, but I'm not seeing this gathering being of anyone that is alive. They've all perished. They've all died. They've all had their heads cut off. I believe that's just a term stating that they have died. I don't think there's any conceivable way, I could be wrong, any conceivable way that you could execute 6 billion people with a guillotine. That's just me. That's a lot of people. You'd have to have one heck of a line, and I don't know. I think people would revolt over that pretty quickly. But if there were some horrific thing that happened, um, maybe earthquakes, something violent happened, a comet hits the earth, nuclear exchange, whatever. I think the Bible says, what does it say? A third of the people on the planet are going to die. So that's a little bit over 2 billion people. That's not even an easy task right there. So that might be the gathering of people who have died. Okay, that's just a thought. We can discuss that the, that part of it. So, and then he shall send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds. So there you see a gathering. And here, return of the Son of Man again, and you see, this is to the Jew. This is in Matthew. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, going out for the sea, there's going to be an antichrist. During this time, there will be an antichrist, and God is warning the Jews. He's not warning the sleepy church. They're going to see. We've seen that in Revelation. They are going to see the antichrist, but here there's a direct warning to the Jew not to follow him, to keep looking for the Son of Man. All right, let's continue on. This, and this is what I want to work on with people who are mathematically inclined and know their Bibles really well. If you say to me that the rapture is going to be tomorrow, then 4 months from now would have to be some kind of a harvest. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months. So if we say, well, if somebody were to say, well, the rapture can't happen today because 4 months from now is a harvest, that's when we go, is 4 months from now. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white and ready to harvest. We're going to be raptured 4 months, it looks like, before the saints. I don't know exactly the time frame. Maybe it's a year and 4 months. Maybe it's 2 years and 4 months. But there's a period of time. And Jacob's trouble is not designed for the sleepy church. That's what keeps nagging at me in the back of my mind is the sleepy church is not a part of that week. Jacob's trouble is not a part of that. Is for the Jew. How long will it be that God takes away the sleepy church? How long will it take, just like Elijah and Elisha, how long did it take Elisha to drop to his knees and tear off his clothes and put on the mantle of Jesus? The same thing. Once the rapture occurs, everyone you've told, if you see me go, they will drop directly to their knees. They don't have to wait 4 months. They're going to go straight to their knees. So, in my opinion, it's not far away from the rapture of the church as to when the saints go home. And then we have 7 years to play out for the Jews. Pointed this out before. You find this in the book of Jubilees, and you know that Adam and Eve sinned on October the 31st in the second month and 17th day. This year, the Hebrew calendar lines up with the Enoch calendar in the last 6 months, which made it a lot easier for me this last 6 months. Next year it won't line up, even though the Bible's abundantly clear that 150 days after this date of October the 31st, it needs to land on the cross. They will ignore that, and I believe, if I remember correctly in the last video, I said their date will not be March 30th, but it'll be April 22nd. It'll be 23 days away. It'll be wrong by 23 days. If you're going to obey the Bible, it clearly says 150 days, you must land on the cross. So, but even though they ate the fruit and God sacrificed animals and covered them, which means they're saved, they were left in that garden until the fourth month. It says new moon, but the translation is Chodesh. It's new month. I can take you to every translation in the Bible where it says new moon and show you that when they saw the Revelation 12 sign, and it clearly says in the Bible, with the moon under her feet, that word that they use for moon under her feet, I believe somebody pointed out because it was New Testament, was Selene. It was written in, was it Greek? I think the New Testament was written in Greek. It was written, the word Selene. That word was moon, but if you translate this word here, it's actually month. So on the first day of the fourth month, is when they were removed. They were removed after 7 full years in the 8th year and the fourth month in the first day. All right. Now, for me, Hanukkah, well, actually for the Hebrew calendar as well, Hanukkah begins at nightfall on December the 7th. I want you to notice something here. Now, this is the circuit of the sun. You know that, right? And I've done some math on the circuit of the sun. And I noticed that in the winter, the sun stays at the 23.5 degree mark for 14 days, not including the actual day of the center, which is the 21st. We all know that the 21st is the center, but it actually goes into 23.5 on December the 15th. It stays in 23.5 until December the 30th. So 15 days inclusive. But I also noticed that it hits that degree, 23 degrees, you see over here on the left, 22 and 24. So it hits the 23 degree mark on December the 7th, the beginning of Hanukkah. Let's go over here. I'll get to the point here in a moment. I don't know how many pictures I took. Behold, I will send a blast upon them, the trumpet blast, and he shall hear a rumor. They're going to hear, this trumpet's going to go off. We're going to be raptured, and they're going to be left guessing what just happened. And they're going to guess so many wrong things, and the rapture is not going to be one of them. And shall return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. I believe much of America, not all of it by any means, most of the planet, or much of the planet from each nation, a lot of people are going to disappear. America's kind of a new country, and it's not as populated as many countries are. So when America loses the bride, it's really going to put a hurting on that country. And what is going to happen? What is going to cause? Have we not heard that America is going to get mad and leave Israel? It's written in Ezekiel 38 that Israel stands alone. God's going to prove that He's the one that is going to save them. And there will be no question because it won't be America that does it. It won't be anything else, Israel that does it. It's going to be God. And they're going to know that God saved them. Um, but we're sitting right there. If they were to go full force on Israel, America's right there. What's going to cause America to leave? It's not going to be that they're mad at Israel. That's why they want to leave. It's going to be an excuse that happens. Something's going to happen that is going to make them want to leave. How about a huge calamity at home where a bunch of people just disappeared and they are like, gotta go. Something happened at home. I got to get back and try to figure this out. We might have been attacked. I don't know what just happened. They won't know what happened any more than everyone else. They won't know what happened. They're going to surmise that it was something nefarious that happened. And so all them ships and all them subs are going to leave from Israel, and Israel's going to be left alone. And then God is going to protect them. But once America floats away, wow, they are going to come at Israel with everything they have, and God is going to protect them. So while we can say, yeah, America's going to take off, they are. But there's going to be a very good reason why they do. It's not just going to be, we don't want to help Israel, or, they're stuck in a perplexing situation where they kind of have to, but they kind of don't want to be there. And then all of a sudden, the rapture occurs and poof, they're gone. So any rumors that you're hearing about the United States taking off and leaving Israel, it's not going to be because they wanted to leave. It's going to be because the rapture occurred. All right, let me get back to this. So that we find this in 2 Kings 19:7. Behold, I will send a blast upon them, and he shall hear a rumor and shall return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So America's going to be destroyed. So is this the same thing? Yeah, I did this in the new. I did this in the King James, and then I went to another translation just to see exactly. It says, "Listen, I myself will move against him, and the king will receive a message that he is needed at home. So he will return to his land, where I will have him killed with the sword." That's a much clearer way of saying it, but it's saying the same thing. So United States is going to leave Israel's side, not and they want to, but they're not going to until there's a huge excuse to, and that I believe is going to be the rapture. Let's see here. I got this comment. Uh, I was listening to Chris over at oh, Chris, you're gonna get mad at me. What is it? His site? What is his YouTube called? It is called. Is it Rapture Watchers? Sorry about that. I'm really. Oh, Coolcast Live. I need to go watch that. Oh, Global Rapture Watchers, right there. Chris over at Global Rapture Watchers had a video, and I made a comment in there. And I said, I'm beginning to think the rapture will cause America to leave Israel and return home. And of course, I just showed you a verse that says exactly that. We will be raptured soon. I think that's going to happen soon, even though America wants to leave right now. And there's a lot of rumors about them doing so. The excuse that they will have is going to be the rapture. And this person here pointed me to that verse. That's where I got it from. I wanted to give them credit. Thank you for the verse. It says, good thought. Think the same. Reminds me of 2 Kings 19:7. And Jeannie, she points that out. So, all right. I keep looking for dates in the Bible, and this is a date of 21 days. Where do we count from? What does it land on? I don't know. Do we count from this to something else? I don't know. But it's in the Bible, and so I tried to find out how to place this on the timeline, and I cannot. It's just three sevens, 21 days. But then I go into Esther. It says, all the king's servants and the people of the king's providences do know, they know this for certain, that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court. You know, in heaven, there's an inner court and an outer court. The inner court belongs to the bride, the outer court belongs to the saints of the tribulation, the sleepy church. Who is not called? There is one law, and who's not called? Those are the ones that are going to the lake of fire. So, what happens to them? There is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that they may live. Again, our salvation is dependent entirely upon the blood of Christ. He is the one holding the golden scepter. He is the one that forgives us our sins. He's the one that we trust in alone, period, with nothing else, just Him and Him alone. Everything after that is works towards your crowns. It is not works towards your soul. You must do this or else you'll lose your soul. That's silly and ridiculous. Jesus Christ paid. Once that blood gets on you, you can't get it off. He paid for your sins, past, present, future. And you're secure and safe in Jesus. And that's the end of it. If you try to add to that, He'll take away. You have to be careful with that. If you do your works because you're feeling it, because it's you know that you're saved, then you're just adding crowns to your watching. And it says, "But I have not been called to come in unto the King these 30 days." I saw 30 days, so I highlighted it. 30 days. Again, I don't know where to add it to. I don't know where to put it, but there's 21 days. There's 30 days. But here, now here, I have an exact date. There is exactly, I know where to put it. Haggai 2:10, in the 4 and 20th day and the 24th day of the ninth month, which is Kislev, 24, which just so happens to be December the 7th, which just so happens to be the first day of Hanukkah, the festival lights. Remember, they lit this candle. They only had enough oil in the candle to burn for one day. They didn't have any more oil. They couldn't find any more oil. And by some miraculous reason, the candle stayed lit for 8 days. So they celebrated this uh, Hanukkah because of those 8 days the candle stayed lit. And we have a verse in the Bible that points exactly to those 8 days. In the 4 and 20th day of the ninth month, in the second year of Darius, came the word of the Lord by Haggai, the word of the Lord by Haggai, the prophet, saying, Thus saith the Lord. Now we have a statement, Thus saith the Lord. And we have this 24th day of the ninth month, which is Hanukkah, December 7th. But here's the thing that gets me. It's repeated twice. Down here in Haggai 2, it stated it again. And I posed this question in Cool Cats, Clapperaf, and I posed it in my Discord. Does anybody know of a verse in the Bible where the date is repeated 2 times? And I'll show you that here in a moment. Consider now from this day and upward, from the 4 and 20th day of the ninth month, even from the day that the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid, I go to build a place for you, prepare a place for you. If it were not so, I would have told you. And consider it. Is the seed yet in the barn? Yeah, that ends that. The question is the seed in the barn? That's the bride. But, continue reading, as yet meaning the vine, the fig tree, the pomegranate, and the olive tree are not in there yet. What is in there is the seed in the barn. Yeah. But yet the vine, the fig tree, and the pomegranate, and the olive hath not brought forth. From this day I will bless you. So the rapture occurs. The people drop to their knees and say, Please, Lord, I missed it. I don't want to go through the lake of fire. Everybody's going to be calling on his name. God's going to be, if it were a thing, if it were possible. I mean, he's busy keeping the entire universe afloat, right? But if it were possible, he would be very busy listening to all the prayers of the people who recognize that they missed it, but they still have faith in Jesus. Do they know? Do they know that once they see you go, they still have a shot? Or are they in the belief that somebody told them that all the seals have already been opened, and this is the sixth seal, and when this seal opens, you're done. You're going to the lake of fire. God's going to beat you up, pulverize you, cut off your head, do all these things, and after he's done all that stuff, beat you up, then he's going to throw you in the lake of fire. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense. The rapture is going to occur before. We're going to be there to see the first seal open. The first seal is going to cause everyone to go up against Israel, where God will show who he is. So the concept of the seals have been open already is the silliest concept I've heard, but there's a lot of concepts out there to get you to think that once you miss it, you're done. See, what's going to happen when the rapture occurs and they have no firm basis in the Bible? What's going to happen to them is they're going to lose hope. As far as they know, they're done. God's going to pulverize them into the ground and then throw them into hell. And that's just not what tribulation is for. Excuse me. Tribulation is to save them. It's to turn their hearts to God. It's to make people realize he's in control of your every heartbeat. It's to make them realize that he is in charge. And they're going to see some stuff during that period of tribulation that nobody's ever seen before. It will be like no other time. He'll be here. His hand will be here. And people won't be able to say, hey, was that really God? That I don't know if it was really, you know what I mean? It's going to be very hard not to recognize that it was God doing this stuff. Let me get back to the pictures. Again, we have that 24th day of the ninth month repeated. So we have it twice in there. And I again posed this question, and oh, let me get into here real quick, right here. Now I know December 7th is 3 weeks away. Is it 21 days away? Yeah, it might be actually 14. Yeah, it's 21 days from today. That's why I think a lot of people might be looking at tomorrow. And I keep coming up, I'm doing math back and forth, and I keep hitting November 30th and December the 1st also. It's not on my timeline. I don't know what it is or what it matches up to. I've actually had other people looking at November 30th and December 1st. I just can't nail it down hard enough like I can with every other day because it's clearly in the Bible. Kislev 24 is written right there. I just showed you. And when I count from the head of the year, and this has to be the head of the year because if it weren't, then 150 days after the flood on Halloween, right there, you see up here in yellow, 40 days duration of the flood, 110 days for a total of 150 days from Heshvan 17. You land right here on the cross. You have to land on the cross. That's the 150 days up there at the top. The waters started to recede. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Noah is up in the air. He stays up there after 40 days, another 110 days before the water ever begins to recede. Everybody says, oh, it started to recede after 40 days. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says it began to recede after 150 days. And remember, I believe I showed you he was something to the effect of 15 feet or 25 feet above the tallest mountain. And his boat had to be 15 feet in the water. And when he sunk down, he only went down 10 foot. He went up there and he stayed up there. When the waters began to recede, the boat touched Mount Ararat pretty quickly. And then it says in the seventh month and 17th day, again on the Noah calendar, that was the day the ark rested on Mount Ararat, which again lands on the day Jesus rises and defeats death. We rest in Jesus. The ark rested on Mount Ararat, as in the days of Noah. So we come back over here to look in the days of Noah and what happens. And that's why my dates are a little bit further out than others are looking at. Others are looking at tomorrow. And again, we count the days, right? Maybe it happens sooner than I thought. And that's fine with me. But Hanukkah, the festival of lights, that would be amazing that on that day, all the humans turn into a ball of light and fly up, all the bride flies up into the air. That would be an incredible day for a rapture. But then we have this. God remembers Noah. He says that in the Bible. He says, and God remembered Noah and he stopped the rain. He stopped the rain on Kislev 27 on December the 10th, 40 days after the rain began. The rain began on October the 31st here, November the 1st in Israel. 40 days exactly later, we'll be right smack in the middle of Hanukkah, right in the center of Hanukkah. 4 days before, 4 days after. So we have Kislev 24, which you just saw in, is it Haggai? That's December the 7th. Hanukkah begins. Even the Hebrew calendar is lining up with that day at nightfall on December the 7th. You have 4 days later, the flood, and God remembered Noah. The flood ends, and that's Kislev 27, December the 10th. And then you have the end of Hanukkah. Remember, I said that Adam was removed from the garden on the first day of the fourth month, not the new moon. No, that's a mistranslation. It says Rosh Chodesh, which is new month. That's the new month, Tevet 1, which is the last day of Hanukkah. It's almost like God allowed Adam and Eve to stay in the garden. And what was the math on that? They said 47 days. If I remember, it was 47 days after Adam sinned. He stayed in the garden and was removed at nightfall on December the 15th, the last day of Hanukkah. He spent his first day in the wild in the ugly, sinful world on December the 16th. He was removed. It's also the last day of Hanukkah. So 3 high watch days for me. I know it's too far out, and trust me, I want to go tomorrow. I don't want to wait. But the next 3 high watch days that I have on the timeline is December the 7th at nightfall, December the 10th at nightfall, or 11th, I'm sorry. I have a 1 day issue here. December the 11th at nightfall, and December the 15th at nightfall. So I asked the question, is there another passage that has a date in it that there's two dates in the same passage? And somebody in Cool Cat's how do you call Clapper app made mention of this verse here in Exodus 12, and the Lord, not Exodus 12, in Exodus 40. But check this out. I want you to notice something, and a lot of people miss this. I just noticed it actually today. I knew about this, but I didn't know about what I'm going to show you. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So they were in March. This is when the date was changed. This is why 14 days later they are sacrificing this lamb and putting blood on their doorway, because that is March 30th. The head of the year is March 17th. He moved it back to March 17th. He doesn't say anything about a moon or a sliver. He just says today is the first month of the first day to you. And by the way, this is first, the very first law that God handed to Moses. The first thing he does is change the calendar. First thing he does before he does anything else, God wants Moses to understand, okay, the calendar is now changed from all the time from creation, even through Noah, all the way up through the Tower of Babel. I believe the Tower of Babel was before this as well, all the way up here to Exodus 12 with you, Moses, as you're leaving Egypt. The first thing I want you to know is I want you to change the head of the year to the first month, and or this now is the first month, which he was in March 17th. This was the new Rosh Chodesh, right? And I've said it so many times that the Feast of Trumpets didn't move. Rosh Chodesh did, or Rosh Hashanah did. That's now the head of the year, March 17th. But watch this. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months, and it shall be the first month of the year to you, March 17th. But check this out. This caught my attention today. On the first day of the first month, now here we are. Remember back here, Exodus 12? Here we are all the way down in Exodus 40. The first law has been handed out. What does he say? On the first day of the first month shall thou set up tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. Tabernacles is 10 days after Rosh Hashanah. Why are we talking about tabernacles happening on March 17th? That blew my mind a little bit there. I don't know. That's something that we need to work on. Why is tabernacles being called the first day of the first month when we know God just changed it to March 17th? Rosh Hashanah and tabernacles now are together, and Rosh Hashanah would have had to have been moved back 182 days, but tabernacles being 10 days later would have had to have been moved back 6 months and 10 days. So that was kind of interesting to me. No, I'm not waiting I don't think that we're leaving on March 17th. I just think this is a way for God to seal the timeline so that it doesn't move. But then, like I posed the question, here we have again in the first month, in the second year, in the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was reared up. They built that tabernacle on March the 17th. That was the second year. This is the first month. This is probably, yeah, he's telling them that this is when you're going to build a tent. And I believe maybe it was a year later. I'm not sure, but it says in the second year. So this happens on March 17th where they build a tabernacle, March 17th where they build a tabernacle. I thought that was pretty interesting that we also have a date, two dates put in there, but it doesn't give, like it tells you this is the first day in the first month, and then we have the other one that says it is the Kislev, the ninth month and 24th day. That's 9 months. That's 9 months later. That's kind of interesting, December the 7th. So if we count back 9 months, what do we land on? We get close to this, right? 9 months and 24 days, a little bit far, but if we go back 24 days, where do we wind up at? I didn't even think about doing that. Where do we come to? We come to Heshbon, well, Kislev 1, right? And that would be, looks like it would be November the 14th or 15th. That's today, or yesterday. That's yesterday. So I wanted to put some things out there. Stay encouraged. This is going to happen. Exactly when we don't know yet. I just have this feeling that God's hiding it from Satan, and He's loving the fact that we're trying to figure it out. And all the research and all the Bible verses that we read through is the most important part. We get deeper into the Word, learn new things every day. God is calling the first month and the first day tabernacles. How did that happen? How did, I mean, we knew Rosh Hashanah moved back, but then He just says, well, tabernacles moves back too. What? So we need to study this out, try to figure it out. I appreciate all the comments, people really getting into this and trying to figure this out. Um, I'm going to get off here and upload this and listen to Cool Cat's stuff. He might have found something. I don't know. I'm always excited to listen to his deep dives as he searches for gold and tries to figure it out. And I'm going to go in there and watch him, see what he found out, if anything. And we will chat with you again later. Remember, we're out of time. I've said that for a couple of years now, but in the relationship of 6,000 years, this couple of years hasn't been anything. So we are the generation that will be here to see this rapture event occur. We will, in a moment, be standing here all broke down, sore, and in pain, and the next second we'll be like Superman or Superwoman or whatever you want to relate it to in heaven, and we'll be indestructible. Indestructible. A nuclear blast right next to us will not harm us whatsoever. I don't even know if we'd get knocked out of the way and then stand up. I don't know how that would work, but I don't think, as far as I can see, that all of those armaments will be destroyed by God anyway. They won't even exist. They won't have the ability to harm one another uh, in that fashion during that 1,000 years anyway. So, um, yeah, go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody. And accept the Lord into your heart. Remember, if you feel that draw, it was God calling you all along. If you can give me a date of any of you that have been saved and said, well, on this day, I can give you a date, November 20th, 1994 is when I walked in front of a church. I had been watching and trying to figure stuff like this out since 1987, 1986, when I first started getting into this. And I told myself, and that's just the way my brain is wired, there's all these dates. I need to get them on a timeline to see how they fall so I can exactly see how they land, because then maybe it'll make sense to me. And the timeline kind of does now. I mean, it does make sense to me, and I know where everything lands, and I can mathematically say it all locks in. And so, but if you give that date, like I can, I rarely do, because I know for a fact that God began calling me a long time before that, and God is doing a good work in you. And if he starts a good work in you, he won't stop. So if it's something that you're just getting into and you're like, man, yeah, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Yes, yes, I don't want to go to hell. Yes, I want to go to heaven. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do that prayer. Know that when you have that draw, John 6:44, know that you were already saved. God didn't start it and then says, well, he didn't make it on time. And if he'd only gone into that prayer closet, like it says in is it Matthew 6, 5, and 6? I think it's Matthew 6, 5, and 6. If he just goes into that quiet place by himself, if you just go in there, man, I would have saved him, but he just didn't. So, but no, you got to have faith that he started the good work. And that's why you're feeling that draw. And you won't be able to ignore that draw anyway. So, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to keep working on this. And the comments are very important to me as to what the 21 days are. I have an exact date, of course, of December the 7th, and I've seen a lot of good work. And I've actually seen it on my timeline with some math where it lands on November the 30th, December the 1st. And I'm like, that literally makes no sense to me, aside from the fact that it's exactly 7 days before Hanukkah. Why do I keep this date keep popping up? And I see others with the date popping up as well. So it's something I'm still working on. I mean, literally, that's still 2 weeks away. So we got time, or do we? Do we have time? You know, so I mean, uh, saying the rapture is imminent is kind of saying like it could happen anytime. It can't happen anytime. It just can't. There's an exact day it's going to happen. It is not imminent whatsoever. There is an exact day it's going to happen. From our perspective, we say it could happen anytime, but it can't because Amos 3:7 promised that he would show us, he would tell us. And how long before? Is it 7 days? Is it 3 days? Is it 5 minutes when the trumpet blast goes off? He did tell us to listen for a trumpet blast. Maybe that's what we get. Is it imminent if we hear that trumpet blast? No, it's today. We'll know. So I encourage you to keep watching and keep going, studying, especially with all the channels. I do the same thing. I watch all the channels, and I think it's important that I mean some channels just look at the world stuff that's going on, and that's fantastic. And the reason that is because the Bible talks about those things as well. So everybody's given a piece of the puzzle, and we all work together to try to get to the understanding. So I think I said everything. Repo Man 64. I'm going to keep working on this, and if I can find a solid date for why November 30th might be it. There's who was it? Is it prophetic Watchman? I don't recall who. Isaiah 53. I don't remember who it was. Just put a video together looking at tomorrow, the 17th, which it's already the 17th in Israel. So just keep looking up. It's coming. It's coming soon. So we'll chat with you again later.